Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Tara Time. Today we have a very special guest and a very special time. So usually we're here on Thursdays, but I couldn't not make an extra special effort for today's guest. So I am welcoming on Samantha Hearne, who is an absolutely prolific, wonderful, successful business coach and my previous business coach and mentor too. And as always on Tara Time, we're going to dig into all things business, leadership, and maybe even a sneaky few things Tara today as well. So I'm going to welcome her in and let her introduce herself, and then we're going to dig right into some juicy topics. Hello.
Can I just say that intro is so good? I was there like,
Everybody always does a little dance.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, thank you so much for doing a different time. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely welcome. So if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself for anybody who hasn't heard of you, who you are, what you do. Please intro yourself.
Of course. Hello, everyone. If I haven't met you before, it's so nice to meet you. My name's Samantha Hearne. I'm a business coach and mentor. I'm a qualified teacher, so I do a lot in the CPD accreditation space, but ultimately I support women who have a service-based business in making sustainable, profitable income so that they can create a business that allows them to live the life they want, but without sacrificing any of the other parts of themselves. So whether that is travel, freedom, relationships, children, pets, I want to try and make sure that the women I support create full lives and their business becomes part of that and is sustainably successful. So that's what I do.
I'm super glad that you included pets in there as well.
Yeah, of
very,
course.
very important.
Of course.
Okay, so there's two things I really want to dig in, and we are going to be here with you for half an hour today. So if you are on live, come and say hello. And hey, Danielle, I can see you in the comments here. Just come in and say hello. Come and say hello. If you're watching the replay, let us know you were here on replay as well with #replay. So what I want to talk about, two things I want to talk about. Firstly, masterminds. Super important. And the reason I want to talk about masterminds is because that is how I have worked with Sam, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. So I want to dig into all things mastermind. And I also want to talk about making your first high ticket coaching investment, because also that's exactly what I did with you. So what two better topics to talk about now? Masterminds, I really want to dig into, because in my sphere of coaching, I coach both business owners and people who are in careers. For us business coaching bods, we know exactly what a mastermind is. We are clear as day what a mastermind is. It's all over. We see it every day in our world. But what I've noticed is when I use the phrase mastermind, or even sometimes group coaching, programs, outside of the business coaching world, people don't know what they are. And so I thought, you're a queen of masterminds. You run incredible masterminds. So I thought, who better to explain what a mastermind is?
Okay, yeah, perfect. I think this is really important to talk about as well. And, as Tara said, I've been running masterminds and group programs for the last 4 years now, with great success, not only just from the client results, but also the connections they make, the friendships that they build, and the network that they then become part of. And I think the biggest misconception around a mastermind is that it's just a way that you can gain access to the person running it, but in a group setting. And the true essence of a mastermind is that your knowledge, your strengths, and your skill set are valued and able to contribute to the group experience, as well as you get support and challenge, not only from the mentor, but also from your peers. So a mastermind is a great way for a person to experience two main things. Number one, an opportunity to be challenged and triggered in a safe environment. And I personally think this is really important. When you expose yourself to other people and you see what they're doing, the way they work, the way they function, that can sometimes trigger questions in ourselves. And if that's done in a safe space, which is really important, it can actually create new intrinsic motivators for you. Your mind becomes exposed to other possibilities. I'm seeing so-and-so do it this way. I'd never thought to do it like that, but that seems like a really good idea. So the first thing that a mastermind can do for someone is challenge and trigger you in a safe space so that you can then increase your own intrinsic motivation and actually see things in a different way. And the second reason a mastermind is important is to increase the level of thinking that is happening inside your own self-development, business, life, whatever type of mastermind you're investing in. And the reason this is important is higher order thinking and higher level questions don't come from us in isolation. They come from listening, they come from witnessing, they come from experiences, and they come from other people. So when you're in a mastermind, some of the time you learn and gain more from listening to someone else being supported. From the journey, not only that the coach holds space for and how they present and work through the question with the client, but also from a client perspective, how are they showing up? How are they bringing their best energy, questions, planning to a session? So the true essence of a mastermind is, one, you feeling like you can step into your power and actually support others as well as being supported. But for me, the two reasons that I think that they are really important is challenge and creating that safe trigger space. And two, that higher level of thinking, questioning, and exposure. So yes, that is in a nutshell, masterminds.
And like at the base level, and I often get asked, what's the difference between a mastermind and a group coaching program? Now, for me, a mastermind is usually more client-led rather than topic-led. So, you're showing up for yourself with whatever you've got to bring to the table that week. And but from a leadership perspective, because leadership being my area of expertise, I am surprised that there are not more, and that I am facing this, what is a mastermind in the leadership career space? Because as a leader, the most important thing for you to be able to do is to be able to listen, is to be able to ask great questions, is to be able to do all of those things that you've just spoken about are like absolute 101 for leadership. So I think it's a beautiful thing and something that I am definitely going to be bringing to the space, because whenever there's a gap, I'm going to be switching right in there. But it is like, you're right, it's that showing up for other people as well as yourself, and the level of growth that happens there, hands down, for me, is nearly always bigger than the bit that you show up for yourself. Like 100%. That, that learning that happens in a group is super, super powerful. Now, I wanted to share a little bit and an example of that as well, actually, while we're talking about masterminds. So I joined Sam's mastermind in May. It was a 6-month mastermind, so from May to October 2022. And it was a wonderful experience. I got so much out of it. My business, quite frankly, wouldn't be where it was today if I hadn't been inside that mastermind. But also, a second business was born in that mastermind. And a whole new business baby was born in that mastermind between me and a fellow masterminder. So if that doesn't go to show you like the level of opportunities that sit within these groups, and I talk about this all the time, go and find your tribe, all of that. When you surround yourself with the right people, absolute magic happens. It really, really does. And when these spaces are curated, and that's often what they are, when we do masterminds, it usually isn't a case of, okay, anybody in the, there have to be the right people joining to bring the right dynamic. Usually we've attracted those right people to join. When you're then in that space, the potential for new opportunities and new ideas to come up are infinite, I think.
I agree. And I think that it's really important to also remember that in a mastermind, there is a lot of holding space for change. And that doesn't always come from action. It comes from being present, and it does come from listening and witnessing. And you're right, that does take a real art form. And as adults, in a society of a working culture and a corporate culture, especially if you're in that space, there's a lot around pace. There's a lot around movement, transition, promotion. There's a lot about external rewards. And that a lot of the time can mean that you disregard some of the most powerful skills that you have as an individual to wait, to observe, to listen. And when you're then exposed to a group, a mastermind, and you hear other people's amazing experiences, it makes you listen. So I do think that there is a lot to be said for exactly that, creating and curating a space where you do invite individuals to actually show up, not only be seen by others, but also invite them to hold space for other people. There's so much that can be said for just being present, being patient, watching someone go through a transformation. That in itself is something that we don't give enough time to. But when you're the person being held in a group of like-minded people, that feeling is invaluable. you realize you're not alone. You realize that the most successful people have these types of challenges as well. You can create such unity and collaboration. So I think that's such a great example, you know, setting up a brand new business with Jess. That's a collaboration. There's this idea that we change the way we think, and it doesn't become a competition. It doesn't become what we're doing in isolation. It becomes a collective. And that is the power of a mastermind. You know, it's led by the people, and they can choose to use their initiative, create change, adopt change, embrace change. And that in itself, outside of, you know, results and rewards, it can transform you as an individual. And I think that's such a powerful experience that people, you know, have available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's from a participant perspective. How about from a leading a mastermind perspective? What do you think really cements somebody as a good leader of a mastermind?
Great question. I think what's really important, and I know that in the space that I'm in, you know, which of course is very diverse, you know, so you have people that work with people in startups, you have people that work with people with, you know, multi 7 and 8 figure corporations, you have people that focus on business coaching for social media, business coaching in all different ways. So I know that it can be quite a diverse range. But for me, I think that definitely being a teacher and coming from, you know, my time in education has definitely made my value of being a good leader in a space of masterminding have a bit of a different perspective. So before I came into this space, my job was, I was a secondary school teacher, but more than that, I was head of sixth form. So my ultimate job was to manage 200 16 to 18-year-olds in their pastoral care, also their academic progress, you know, getting their A-levels, deciding whether they go to university, apprenticeships, their further education, managing their dynamics with teachers, managing those that didn't want to be there, because of course it is the law that they stay in education or apprenticeship. So not all of them want to be there. So managing that, managing parents, managing different learning needs, learning styles, managing different abilities within the classroom. That was a real skill set in itself. So for me to be able to, you know, and also not only that, I had to also teach 2 subjects to GCSE and A-level standards. So I had to manage my own 2 classes of GCSE and 2 classes available. So that's another 60 kids. And they're sort of exactly the same, 14 to 16. Not all of them want to be there, 16 to 18. It was tough, but I loved it. And I always had the sets that were at risk of not passing. So a huge part of my job was differentiation, making sure I was able to keep engagement, but also make it fun and accessible so that they could achieve. So for me, as a good leader, and some of my values that have definitely come into my coaching and mentoring, you know, role, is making sure that even in a mastermind space, everybody is treated based on their learning styles, their energy, their values, and what they want from their business. And to a participant, they wouldn't necessarily know I'm doing that. It's such small tweaks, but I intuitively, and of course, as part of my, you know, life until this point, it was my job to know what would make someone feel motivated, what would engage someone, what would make them feel valued. So my number one thing about being a leader in a mastermind space is definitely making sure that everyone is treated as an individual, even though they're part of a collective. My second value is also making sure you look for your non-verbal cues. So it's very easy to listen to what someone's saying, but what you really need to be looking for is their body language, their energy, their eye contact, their overall demeanor in a situation. And that is a real skill set as a leader. You know, you could tell me you want something, but I can see you don't. So challenging the non-verbal cues. And the third thing I would say is clear, confident communication. If you want to be able to lead a space in a mastermind and it be constructive, it be challenging, it be supportive, you have to be a good communicator, but you also need to be confident in challenging communication. So for example, I could say to Tara, well, you've said this to me 3 times before and nothing's happened. Why is that? as clear, confident communication. You need to be willing to be honest with your clients. And that's true leadership. True leadership is not appeasing. It's not staying safe. It's not living in this state of comfort. That's not going to help your clients. And it's not going to mirror and reflect to them what they really need. So my 3 things would definitely be making sure it's personalized, even though it's in a collective, which is different to a group program, as Tara said, because it's a mastermind, it's client-led. 2, making sure that you are looking for your non-verbal cues, things that make that person really show up and hold space for those things. And 3, clear, confident communication. It goes a long way. So they would be, if I had to pick 3 or succinct it, they would be them.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to throw a big, because of what you said there, I'm going to throw a question at you, because this is Tara time. And the whole reason I created this form of content was to give people a little bit of a deeper insight to who I am. Yeah. And how I show up, whether it's in my coaching world, whether it's in my personal life. I've had my mum on as a guest, my best friend on as a guest, other coaches, my husband. I'm letting people have a personal insight. So I'm going to ask you a personal insight about how I showed up and what it was like to coach me inside your mastermind.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think, again, even asking that shows your level of self-awareness, because when you're willing to expose yourself to feedback and be open to receive it, things do change. So even asking that as a question in such a public forum shows your willingness to be more self-aware, to develop. So I would say when Tara came into the mastermind, there was a lot more focus on the things that could be done. So this is where I'm at, and really pragmatic. This is where I'm at. This is what I've done, but this is where I want to go. But by the end of the mastermind, it became a lot more about how that can incorporate into her life. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to have more time. I want to bring in Tom into the business. I want to be able to, make sure that we can travel with Sasha and move around and have that freedom. How can I make sure that I can run the business, but also be independent from location? So there was a merge between the things I could do versus the impact that it could then have on my life. And there were times that Tara was like, I don't really want to do that. I don't have the time for that. That's not what I want to do. Great. Whereas before, at the beginning, it was like, okay, cool. I'll do it because I should do it. So that was a big sort of move. And I think the other thing was your willingness to find things uncomfortable. You were like, I really want to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to have to do A, B, and C. And you're like, but your willingness to go there. And that some of your biggest transformations for your business, whether it was organizational, tracking, auditing, having this bigger plan, came from sitting with the discomfort first. And I think they would be the 2 things. The transition from the doing to the living and seeing those in synergy, and also being willing to sit with the discomfort. You were always willing to do that.
Yeah, I actually wrote a post this morning about, it was called like things I do differently to other people. And that was kind of one of the things I spoke about. Like, it's just tough shit. Like, if it feels uncomfortable, let's go. In fact, I actually seek out opportunities where I think things will go to shit, where I think I'm absolutely not ready, where I think that I don't really know how I'm going to do it and I'm going to fall flat on my face. I look for those and I do them, and 7 out of 10 times I will fall flat on my face and learn so much along the way. And most people don't seek out that discomfort.
No, they don't. And I think that is sad. It's disappointing for all of us in the society in modern living, because we've got the internet and we've got phones. But, if we look back to when we were kids, there was so much resilience, resilience. We were out on our bikes falling over. I chipped my 2 front teeth because I headbutted a van because I drove a bike. I was cycling a bike that was too big for me. And my parents didn't freak out. I just had to go to the dentist and get caps put on. My brother would smash his head. I'm pretty sure he had his head glued back together like 6 times because he kept falling off that little red and yellow car that you were supposed to sit in Flintstones. He'd sit on the top of it. But it was kind of falling over, injuries, scraping ourselves. I know that's a physical metaphor, but we kind of ended up in a situation where we leave school and we get a job and we try and protect ourselves from that. We avoid it and think, no, like I just want to stay in this safe bubble. But you never really stretch yourself and see what you're capable of until it is harder. So I think it's great that you have that mindset, and some people do. But if you're listening and you want more of that mindset, life is about polarity. You know, you can't experience full love until you experience loss. You can't experience success, you know, but you can't experience success unless you know what failure is. Like, it's impossible to create a linear world where everything is always on the right path. That just isn't our reality, and nor should we want it to be. So if you're thinking, oh, this feels really, I want it, but I know it's hard, please know it's inevitable that you will fail. It's inevitable that things will go wrong. It's inevitable that you will face brick walls and challenges that make you think, should I be doing this? But that is when you learn the most about yourself. It's when you build resilience. It's when you show up in a different way. You build tenacity. So it's good. I love that you shared that as a post, because we need to have more conversations about that, you know. And that's another reason why being in group settings, collectives, masterminds, memberships, groups, in-person retreats, events, networking are so powerful, because you are faced in real life, you know, you're faced with people that are doing things differently. And that is a challenge in itself, but one that we need to explore and embrace way more.
All right, I'm going to wrap up Masterminds. We've got 10 minutes to speak about investments, but I'm going to wrap it up because you just said there, it's inevitable that you're going to fall. It's inevitable that you're going to fail, all of that. When I was inside the Mastermind, you gave a piece of advice, again, to somebody else, not to me, that stuck with me, like absolutely stuck in my brain. And it was like, yeah, all of that is inevitable. But if you continue, your success is inevitable. Like your success is completely inevitable if you are willing to sit through that discomfort, to keep going, to keep moving. And I think all of us actually went away and we were like, oh my God, write that one down. Right. This is inevitable. Like, what I want here is completely inevitable if I keep going at it. And again, so it was an advice to somebody else that is stuck absolutely in my head forever. So Masterminds, wonderful. With that, and with joining that mastermind, came my first ever high ticket coaching investment. Now, off the top of my head, I think it was £7,000.
Yeah, £7,000 plus VAT.
I think it was £7,000. Yeah, £7,000 plus VAT. Yeah. And so that was a high ticket investment, and it was at a point where it wasn't really, really comfortable for me to do so. I can absolutely, say that. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how, because I bet you see it all the time. You see it all the time with people ready to and making high ticket investments. And I'd just like to get your thoughts on that. And also from personal experience as well, like how you almost coach yourself through making that high ticket investment. The first
For sure. Okay. I think what's really important, and again, for me, this is one of my values, is good money management and good wealth planning, for example. And the thing that I would say to anybody is you don't need to be earning more to save more. You don't need to be constantly striving for big numbers and only being willing to book that holiday or work with that mentor or decide to buy that car when you earn more. Because what happens is your life is an example of circumstance. So the more you earn, the more you will spend. Indirectly, because you then have more disposable income. So you'd go out for more dinners, you might get more Uber Eats, you will whatever, you will do more because you have more. So we have to stop thinking of money as like the target. That's the first thing. Money is not, when I have this much, then I'll be able to pay off the credit card, then I'll be able to pay for the holiday, then I'll be able to save for the house when I have. So money is not a target, it's a constant moving thing. So that's really important. Money is completely transactional, fluid, and there's a lot of maneuverability around it. So I would never advocate for someone to invest in anything if they do not know how to manage money. Because what will happen, and of course, people will be like, what, you're doing yourself out of business. But what will end up happening is you will end up creating really bad money stories, money habits, relationships with money, and you will end up doing quite a lot out of fear and panic rather than trusting and processing and patience. So the first tip that I would give to anybody around anything to do with money is making sure that you can manage your money. And what I mean by that is, look now at your current situation financially. Are you saving? Are you spending? Are you investing? Are you able at the end of the month to know where your money's gone? Are you just cha-ching on your watch every 2 minutes? You know, what is your relationship with money currently? That's the first thing. You have to be able to trust your own money experience and relationship and, you know, knowledge. That'd be the first thing. But then when it does come to investing, once you've done that first bit and you do have an idea of money management and you're kind of like, actually, I know that I am able to work with money. I know that I have a good relationship with money. I know that I've been in situations before where, let's say I've had a credit card, but I've paid it off and I know how. I know that I've booked a holiday and then paid it off in installments, whatever it is for you. When you then think about making this investment, if you have good money management, it shouldn't ever be about the money. It should be about the experience and the transformation that you know you're capable of, but you need support in making happen. If when you are looking to invest, you are looking at the number, then that's the first thing that's gone wrong. Because what you're doing then essentially is saying, I'm not worth this because it's that number. So I need to find something less than, cheaper, easier, more approachable. And it's not about what you actually want, the experience, the transformation, the journey. So my 2 bits of advice when it comes to high-level investments are, number one, as an adult, you need to make sure you are able to understand your own relationship with money and money management. And then from that, when you are looking to invest, and again, it could be in a car, it could be in a house, it could be in a mentor. Like we invest in so many things. It should be about how that's going to enrich your life, develop you as an individual, and allow you to feel challenged and grow. If it's about the number, then we've created a disconnect from what you really want for yourself. So they would be my 2, and that would be linking to your second part, my own, how I invest. What's really important for me is I never want to be the reason that I don't succeed. I never want to be able to look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, it's because I didn't try. I didn't commit. I didn't do the work. I shied away. I avoided, you know, I made excuses. I don't want to be the I in the situation. So when I'm thinking about what I need and what is missing, I go through that process. How am I managing my money currently? How do I feel about money and what's my relationship? Because you also don't want to invest out of panic and like, they'll fix it. Okay. So that's really important. And then 2, what is the experience I want to create? And if those things align, then I would move forwards because I know that I'm a good money manager. So I'd know I'd be able to pay it. I know that I'd be able to repay it. I know that I'd be able to make more. So I think that's when it becomes less about the number and more about the experience and your relationship with what you want for yourself. Hopefully I'm trying to make it generic enough for your clients that are in business, but also then in careers.
Yeah. And that the last piece of that is the piece that I talk about quite often. And again, was in that post that I put this morning about doing things differently, is I always back myself 100%. I know that if I show up into a coaching container or anything like that, I'm gonna show up for myself 100%. Like when I have conversations about big investments, even with Tom, I'm like, this is not about whether this will work or will not work. Because whatever I go into, I will learn, I will get the most out of it. I'm responsible for that, not the person that I'm investing in. Like this is about me, not about the person I'm investing. Obviously, I want to make sure that the chemistry is there and all of that, and that's the right thing. But ultimately, even if I go into the worst space in the world, I will come out on top. Like that's my mindset.
Yeah.
So like irrespective, I'm going to learn. And that makes for me investing a lot easier because I know I'm just backing me. Like that's I'm not really backing the other person. I'm just backing me. Like what, if I show up to the worst course, I'm going to learn. If I invest in a course and it's rubbish, I'm going to learn how not to put a course together.
Yeah. 100%. That's so true. And ultimately, you are responsible for your own growth. And if you're willing to accept that, oh my God, so much can change. I think that's so powerful, like anyone that's willing to take responsibility for their own success is of course going to be ahead of someone that thinks that it's down to someone else, or waits or watches or just stays on the sidelines. Someone that's willing to kind of get stuck in and be like, this is on me and I'm doing this. That gumption is it's such a powerful trait.
Yeah. And I think you're right that and we hear it, you'll be exposed to it all the time. I'm just going to do that later. Now's not the right time. And, sometimes on occasions that might be true. Like that really might be true. But most of the time, that is from a place of fear, isn't it? Like now's not the right time because I'm scared I won't get the most out of this. Well, make sure you do.
Yeah.
You are responsible for that. Make sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay. We are at 5:30. We are bang on time. And I think we have absolutely nailed those two topics. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on, Sam. And I don't know if you want to tell people where to find you as well and where you're active and all of that kind of stuff. That would be great too.
Yeah, of course. Again, thank you so much for changing the time. And obviously, if you are watching, I've got a 10-week-old baby. So navigating business and life, which I'm an advocate for doing it all, but it just needs to look a bit different. So, Tara being able to make this more flexible for me is hugely appreciated. And yeah, I would say the easiest place to find me is Instagram, because then all my other links and trainings and all of that stuff is on there. So it's just my name as you see it here, but with an underscore before and an underscore after. And then from there, you'll be able to find anything you want if you do a little bit of stalking.
And I highly recommend you do. I highly recommend everybody does a little bit of stalking. Thank you so much, Sam. Have a wonderful evening.
Oh, thank you. Enjoy your day as well.
Thanks. See you later. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, remember to hit like, subscribe to my channel so you never miss an episode, and leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this episode, remember